Hey guys, this is Comic Uno and Comic Frontline, and I am back from my hiatus. So Comic Uno episode's back, very excited. I'm rejuvenated. I'm excited to get back to some comic book reviews. So this week I have 16 comic book reviews, 3 digital and all the rest printed. Of course, we're going worst pick of the week to best pick of the week. And if you want to check out my thoughts from last week's comics, please go on Comic Frontline's blog spot. I'll have a link for it. There's an article that Jay helped me put together. That way all my mini reviews are in one place. Please comment that I could hear your thoughts on last week's comics also. But let's talk about this week's comics. What is number 16? What is the worst pick of the week? And that is Fantastic Four, issue 1's 100th anniversary. It's not horrible, but it's not my taste at the same time. The art's a little bit sketchy. It's very bright, which I usually like bright art, and the art's not bad. It just didn't work so much for me for the Fantastic Four. But the story's about the new Fantastic Four. The name of Fantastic Four has been destroyed. People don't like the Fantastic Four. People are in different worlds. Valeria is the new leader of the Fantastic Four. And she's trying to build her name again, or the Fantastic Four's name again, and bring back her family together. So yeah, for me, I just felt the new Fantastic Four was boring, honestly. They didn't really make me care about the story, because I've seen this 10,000 times, where the Fantastic Four's name has been tarnished, and they need to bring it back. And that's been happening a lot with the Fantastic Four. They haven't been the biggest names for a while, because what's going on with Fantastic Four now? Their names are being tarnished, and that's what's happening here too. So I've seen that 10,000 times. It's going on in the regular series. So to have that, and then Valeria and the other characters just I didn't feel anything. I didn't think they had any depth to the character. There was no depth to either character. So it didn't make me care about the story that much. So for me personally, this was my worst pick of the week, and I'm going to give it 2 stars. It wasn't horrible. It's not a horrible book. Just for me, I didn't love it. Alright, so now we're up to number 15. And that is Guardians of the Galaxy, Galaxy's Most Wanted. Now, this wasn't even a bad story. It was just very generic. We get to see a really realistic looking Rocket Raccoon, which usually works. Like, this art is great, but I didn't think it worked that well for Rocket Raccoon. I don't want to see like a really realistic raccoon. Same for Groot. Like, it's not bad art. I didn't think fit the series so well. But most of it is just Rocket Raccoon. He's running away. Groot, he thinks that Groot's capturing him, but actually he's helping. So he's wanted, just like his own series. I was getting a little confused because his own series, the same thing's happening. Except this felt like an anniversary one-shot story. It didn't really feel like a whole issue worth of a one-shot story. It didn't feel like I should just buy this issue for this story. Second disappointment, it's not the whole story. The second half is a reprint issue of Thor. With NBC on the cover, or a Peacock on the cover. So yeah, it's just a Thor reprint, and I did not buy the issue for a Thor reprint and Drax. I didn't. I don't really care about Drax. Care about Rocket Raccoon, and Groot. So, I was disappointed because I was getting something I didn't expect. I think this could have been a whole issue of just Rocket and Groot, and it wasn't. It felt pretty generic, and I think more could have been happening. So I'm going to give this 2.5 stars. I was just disappointed with the outcome of the book. Alright, so number 14, another low Future's End book. Future's End, issue 9. As Batman Eternal got better last week, Future's End is still in the same point it has been. Because again, they're just not juggling the stories really well. And I only care about 1 or 2 stories, and the rest is just boring to me. So what happened in this issue is we get to see Lois trying to find these coordinates. That's what's going on with Lois. And an interesting thing with Tim Drake's girlfriend, trying to figure out more about the Teen Titans. And there's a big thing going on in the jail, I think it's Blackgate, and Superman has to come to the rescue. So we get to see a little bit more Superman. So those are interesting things. Grifter. Don't really care what's going on with him. Deathstroke is trying to say, hey, you have more powers, we need you, but we're going to be assholes about it. And that's his story. I just didn't connect with it. I actually like Grifter's story a little bit better in the beginning of Future's End. Mr. Terrific. He's trying to figure out more science stuff. What's going on with this technology. Batman Beyond. He's trying to figure out exactly what to do with being back in time and figuring out his mission. And that connects a little bit more to Mr. Terrific. We can see a little bit of Frankenstein. Frankenstein trying to help Hawkman. these stories, you know, I just didn't care. That's most of the point. I liked that Tim Drake's girlfriend story, and I like Lois. Lois's story was 1 page, and Tim Drake's girlfriend was like 4. So that's the thing with the series. You got stories that you're interested in, and then they just get cut off. And there's just too many stories in 1 issue. I understand you have a lot of stories going on, but leave Tim Drake's girlfriend for issue 9, and then leave Frankenstein's story for issue 10. Like, yeah, maybe I won't like issue 10, but at least I'll like issue 9 to the fullest. And maybe I will like issue 10. Maybe if you gave more screen time to these characters, I would care more. And that's the frustrating thing about Future's End. There's possibilities here, but it's not great. And also the art's consistent, which is good. I like that the art's very consistent. But yeah, I gotta give this 2.5 stars. It's not great. I think last issue was better, but they all collide into each other because they're the same story over and over again. Really disappointing. We'll see where Future's Ends go, but we will see. Alright, so number 13 is a Comic Frontline exclusive, and that is Dexters Lab, issue 4. I love Powerpuff Girls, and I think that series is doing really well. Dexters Lab, it had a great vibe. I think it reminded me of the TV show a lot, which is really important. But the story arc wasn't great. Going into Dee Dee's mind, I think this is a great kid comic. It's a really cool kid comic for girls and boys. I think it's interesting to see, oh, well, the brother didn't like Dee Dee, and now that he didn't have Dee Dee, he'll do anything to get her back. I think that's a cute lesson for kids, but like Powerpuff Girls, I think Powerpuff Girls is all ages, and this is more of a parent reading it to a child and the child enjoying it more. And that's how I felt with this story arc of Dexter's Lab. I felt a little bit more kiddier than it could be. Like Powerpuff Girls, again, is better at balancing both. So art's pretty good. Facial expressions are okay. Dee Dee looked a little weird at times, but art's pretty good. So I'm going to give it 3 stars. It's just a little bit disappointing on the story arc itself, but I liked how they did balance the TV show pretty well for Dexter. Alright, so now we're up to here, number 12, which is also another digital comic, and that is Hack and Slash, Son of Samhain, issue 1. It's a mini-series. My history of Hack and Slash, I've read a couple issues in the past. There's a time where I was picking up Hack and Slash, like comic duo days, so it's been a while since I read it. And, you know, I've been really enjoying Revival and Tim Silly created Hack and Slash and Revival. And I'm only a couple issues behind, so Revival will be joined in the Comic Uno episode very soon. And I think his brother was doing, or, you know, relative is doing a Hack and Slash comic now. So, honestly, I thought this was really new reader-friendly. Again, I haven't read many Hack and Slash issues, but I know the character, and I thought it was really new reader-friendly, understood what was going on, and I would say it intrigued me for an issue, but I don't think it intrigued me enough to say, oh my god, I gotta pick up issue 2, because it's mostly Casey trying to recreate her life. She is right now just a detective in a way. She looks at people to try to capture and get money, but she doesn't want to go to that old job of killing monsters, but she's going to have to, so we get to see that in this issue. If you're a Hack and Slash fan, I think you're going to really enjoy this. It continues the journey, but I don't think it intrigued me enough to get the next issue, but it was a pretty good first issue, and I liked that I tried it, so I'll give it 3 stars. I probably won't go for the next issue, but it wasn't a bad issue. I actually really enjoyed the art too, so that's Hack and Slash. So number 11 is Original Sin, issue 5. This is a little lower than usual for Original Sin because I've been really enjoying Original Sin. Maybe a little less than others, but I've been enjoying it. So this issue, we could see a lot of Nick Fury, which I didn't mind. I thought this was actually a pretty good issue, because we learned about Nick Fury, why he's old, why have we never seen this version of Nick Fury, and that he was an assassin for space. At night, he was an assassin for space. At the day, he was a director for S.H.I.E.L.D. So he's badass 24/7. So we get to see a lot of that in Original Sin. It's mostly his backstory. So it's a little bit of a filler because it's backstory, but it's a needed filler. Because we need to learn more about Nick Fury. It seemed like he was going to kill the Watcher at a point. I'm going to show you that page. But he didn't. He didn't kill the Watcher, so that's good for him. But we don't know who killed the Watcher. We're going to probably find out in the next issue. So I want to show you that page. So he was going to assassinate the Watcher. I guess that was his job, but he didn't. So whoever maybe recruited him, maybe they recruited someone else, and that's how they're going to find the next, the actual person who killed the Watcher. The art's pretty good. That's one thing I have to say. It's a little too dark for me, but it's understandable. It's the tone of the book, and I'm getting used to it. So I liked it. I thought this was a really good origin for Nick Fury, but it's a little bit of a filler for Original Sin. So I'm gonna give it 3.5 stars. I think if you're a big Nick Fury fan, you're gonna really enjoy this. But I'm not a humongous Nick Fury fan, but I enjoyed the issue, so I'd give it 3.5. All right, what are we up to now? Number 10. Let's see. Yes, we are up to number 10, and that is Batman Eternal, issue 13. A little higher than usual, and actually, the last issue of Batman Eternal was pretty high. If I have the list with me, but I think it was like number 5 or 6. I still did the list even though I didn't do Comic Uno episode. It was number 5. It was like close to top 5 or in my top 5. So I liked Batman Eternal last week. The art became consistent. The art's, not perfect, but it's good. I think the only thing I would say is the facial expressions could be a little better, but the art's pretty solid. I like the art, which is something you needed for Batman Eternal, and the story here is good. I liked it. We get to see some small progression, but at least some progression. Better than the whole Falcone story. We're getting more Jim Gordon, which is something I'm more intrigued with for Batman Eternal. Not a lot of Batman. Some complaints has been that Batman's not really in the series. He's not in this issue also, but it's more about the Bat family and more of the supporting characters, which I accept. We're getting into the police being corrupted. People knowing that the police is corrupted, which is great to see. So, I'm going to give this 3.5 stars. I thought this is a major improvement. We're getting some progression in Stephanie's story. Art's better. I really hope it goes in this direction and keeps progressing to become a good series. It may just have some few weak issues from that middle start. So, let's hope we stay in this direction. I like the issue, and again, hopefully it stays this way. 3.5 for me. Alright, so number 9 is Rocket Raccoon, issue 1. I like this issue. I know it's a little lower than people might expect, but I have a valid reason. But yeah, this issue is really cute. I like it as a one-shot story. Scotty Young's art is wonderful for this kiddie version of Rocket Raccoon, and one of my disappointments with the one-shot Guardians of the Galaxy that came out this week is too realistic, the art for Rocket Raccoon. This is the Rocket Raccoon art you need. You need some cartoony stuff because he's a raccoon that talks. You need cartoony to work with this character. So this issue, it's cute. We get to see his ex-girlfriends are targeting him, and you see he treats women not well, and he just cares about himself. So it's interesting to see that's the main story. Now, why it's a little lower on my list is that I don't know where the series can go. I think it's a fun story for this first issue, but could it keep the momentum? I could have laughed a little bit more here also. I think if I compare this to Harley Quinn or, Rocket Raccoon, I laughed a little bit more with Harley Quinn. I want some more subtle jokes, like Tiny Titans, for example. I think Tiny Titans has better referencing jokes than Rocket Raccoon did. I think I could have used a little bit more jokes here, because it is a cartoonier comic. So that was a little disappointing, and I don't know where it could go as an ongoing series. I could see this as a miniseries really well, but ongoingly, can it keep the momentum? And hopefully it proves that as the series goes on. But I thought this was a really fun issue, and I will definitely be getting issue 2, and I'm excited to see where it goes. So I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. I enjoyed that. Alright, so number 8 is Morning Glories, issue 39, a series it's been delayed for a little while. I would say a month or two. It's been a little delayed. It's my favorite indie series of all time. And we get to see a Casey story. Casey is a character we haven't seen in a little while, so seeing her back, her story's a little confusing. What I love about Morning Glories is that the story's a little confusing, so they have a whole 2 pages to explain what actually just happened, which I kind of needed with this issue, because you do forget if you're not reading in trade what exactly happened. You get to see the little references here. So Casey's back. She doesn't really remember that she was Miss Clarkson, and she still doesn't remember. But she has to become president of the school to get more information of the headmaster, which makes sense. I thought it was a little corny to have that, but it makes sense to see her become class president, and it's great to see Casey in general back. And one of her old rivals from school is actually from Morning Glories, so we get to see that Morning Glories planted her to come to the school from the beginning, and Miss Clarkson herself was her worst enemy. So it's really interesting to see that. I love Joe Eisman's art for this series. I just had a recent interview with him. I love how simple his art is. It works so well, and it was a good addition. It was a good addition for the story. I wish we could see a little bit more mystery. Let's see Zoe back. Zoe just came back from the dead. I want to see more of Zoe's story too. And I do miss that the cast, the actual cast, the main cast, hasn't really talked to each other in a while. It's always these separate stories with the characters, so I would like to see the cast assemble a little bit like we did get in the beginning of Morning Glories. So, pretty good issue though. I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. I enjoyed it, and of course I'm looking forward to the next issue. But again, it is a better trade read, but I can't wait for the next issue, so I always read it in a single issue. Alright, so what number are we up to now? We are up to... if my iPad would work. Okay. We are up to number 7, which is a Comic Frontline exclusive, and that is Green Arrow, issue 33. A little higher than usual. And I just heard the announcement today that the Arrow writers are replacing Jeff Lemire, which I like Jeff Lemire's run, don't get me wrong, but it doesn't feel Green Arrow. And they said we're getting back to what Green Arrow's about. So really excited to see that. I'm super excited for the new creative team for issue 35. So if you're a Jeff Lemire fan, I'm sorry, but I'm a Jeff Lemire fan too. Just, Green Arrow doesn't always feel like Green Arrow. But this issue was a lot of fun. We get to see Green Arrow go up against most of his major villains and his sister helping out. We also get some flashbacks of when Diggle was Green Arrow, so we understand a little bit of that story. And that's the issue. We get to see a little bit more Diggle, getting a little bit more characterization for him, and that's what I liked about the issue, is that we get characterization for Diggle. He's not just Diggle from Arrow, he's Diggle from Green Arrow. So I like that. I thought that story was actually really well written. I like that the sister is now part of this team. I still don't like the other two. The actual cliffhanger is that one of them got shot. I don't really care because I really honestly want those two to die in the series. I just don't think they fit very well, and we'll see what the Arrow writers do with that. Maybe bring in Felicity, that would be great. And we don't know what happened to Diggle because he gets thrown out of a window. So I thought that was a really good cliffhanger. Art's really good. Again, I still can't get it past. I think this is a good series, but it feels more like an indie book than it does a Green Arrow book. And it's weird because Jeff Lemire writes an awesome Green Arrow in United, Justice League United, but then a different Green Arrow here. So it's a little weird, but I thought the story was really solid. I thought a lot of things are happening, and solid issue. I'm going to give it 4 stars, and I'm excited for the Arrow writers to come back, or just come onto the series. But I do think this is a good series, but again, it's kind of losing me for a Green Arrow vibe. It's a good other indie book in a way. Alright, so now we're up to number 6, I'm pretty sure. Yes, we are up to number 6, and that is Tiny Titans, Return to the Treehouse, issue 2. Another fun edition of Tiny Titans, where they try to find their treehouse, or new treehouse. So they go to Antarctica, or they go to North Pole to find a new treehouse, and that's at the Fortress of Solitude. So they get their own Fortress of Solitude, they're very happy, and they learn that they can't have the Fortress of Solitude because it melts. So they gotta find another treehouse. Tiny Titans is such a fun series. If you like Blue Beetle, wow, Blue Beetle is a center here. So if you like Young Justice, hint hint, read this because it has the same vibe of Blue Beetle from Young Justice. So it is Jaime. So read this issue. It's a lot of fun. I did like the first issue a little bit better, but I just have a blast with Tiny Titans. It's great references. If you have a kid, read this. I think it's a great family book. If you could read this to your kid and enjoy it yourself also. It's an all ages book. I enjoy it a lot. I love Tiny Titans. And had a chance actually to interview Franco, who was part of the creative team of Tiny Titans. And I love that he knows it's all ages also. Now I know a little bit of the background of, oh yeah, why they always say that. So yeah, awesome book. I love the art. I love the series. So 4 stars for me. If you're not reading Tiny Titans, you can pick up any issue you want. It's a very new reader-friendly book. So that's number 6. I'm going to take a sip of water because my throat is killing me. Alright, so we're going top 5, and that is Earth 2, issue 20, already issue 25, wow. Love the cover. I love that we get to see our new Kryptonian is embracing him being part of the House of L. He's not the part of the family. He kind of is part of the family. He's like adopted in a way to the House of L because his original family died. So we learn his backstory, which is great. And my favorite part has to be the fear of Jonathan Kent and Martha Kent when we get to see Superman have dinner with them. And I thought that was great. And see Jonathan Kent explode and say, You're not my son, and I'm not going to pretend that you are with your new robot wife. So it really shows this weird situation. They call it out. I love the Superman parts here, and I love that he's still Clark Kent in a way. He's still very respectful. It's like, oh, well, we got to go eat Ma's food. She was slaving over the oven all day. Let's go eat and enjoy as a family. So it has that still the same respect of Clark Kent, but in a dark side way. So I love that, and I loved how Jonathan Kent called him out. The only thing I didn't really like about this issue probably was the Green Lantern story. Even though they're the original cast, I think their story is a little boring compared to, Jimmy Olsen and Clark Kent right now, or, Lois's story. I think their story was a lot more interesting with this issue than the Green Lantern story. But that's just my opinion. But I did enjoy this a lot. I thought this was really solid. Love the artwork here. And again, that Clark Kent scene with Jonathan Kent, one of my favorites from this week. So great issue. I've been loving her too. I love what Tom Taylor's doing with the series. Alright, so now we're up to number 4, which is Legendary Star-Lord, issue 1. This is my favorite Guardians book that came out this week. I really enjoyed it. I thought this was a really great first issue. It had a good cliffhanger. We get to see who Star-Lord is if you don't know him. If you haven't been reading Guardians of the Galaxy, it's a great jumping off point. You learn a little bit about his character, and we get to see a supporting character, Kitty Pryde, which is always a plus for me because she's my second favorite superhero. So we see that Kitty Pryde's getting into the team. I have no idea how she's going to get to space, but she is somehow. And I think that's a lot of fun. I don't know about the romantic relationship yet, but I do like them being teammates at this point. So I think that's a lot of fun. The artwork works pretty well for the series, and the cliffhanger is that Star-Lord has a sister. Yeah, so I thought that was great to start the series off. And again, it's great just to see Star-Lord's personality. So I really enjoyed this issue. I thought it was really solid. It's just a great first issue. I think they did everything right. It got me really excited for the next issue, and it was good. I liked it. So I'm looking forward to see where Star-Lord goes. This definitely will be on my pull list. So I'm going to give that 4 stars. Alright, so now we're up to number 3, which is Daredevil, Road Warrior, issue 0.1. And this is the series between the Mark Waid Volume 1 of Daredevil and Mark Waid Volume 2, which is going on right now with San Francisco. Do you need to read this issue? No, you don't really need to read this issue. I think this is more of a point of, like, if you want your Daredevil filled between those two, Volume 1 and Volume 2, you read Road Warriors. But why is it so high on my list is because this was a great one-shot story. Let's compare it to that Guardians of the Galaxy, where it's generic, nothing really happening. It obviously was a one-shot, but it wasn't worth it for a one-shot. This is worth it for a one-shot, because yes, it's not really continuing a story, but it was a great standalone story. And I actually read this digitally as a whole. I know they came out with chapters, but I read this digitally as a whole this week. And I never say, pick up this comic digitally, but pick this up digitally. The way it transitions is wonderful. And again, I don't recommend that very often, but this is a digital comic. Buy it digitally. You don't have to buy it by chapters. Just buy this digitally. It's like $4.99. It's worth the read. It's the transitions what made the issue for me. The story in general, it's a great one-shot story where Matt Murdock meets his robot who's being controlled, and he thinks he's a person. And again, it's just such a humanized story about a robot. And it's just a great one-shot story. Mark Waid knows how to do this very well. Again, even though it's not progressing a story of him going to San Francisco, it just plants the roots to going to San Francisco really well. So if I read this between the two series, I think it probably would be even higher. And art, of course, is great, but read this digitally. It's worth reading digitally. It is a digital comic, so buy this digitally. I don't say that often, but this is digital. Get it. But yeah, I love this issue. 4 stars. Great, solid issue. And if you want a good one-shot story, pick up Daredevil, Road Warriors, digitally. Alright, so let's get to number 2. Alright, number 2 is Superman Unchained, issue 7. I was shocked by this. This has been delayed for like 5 months, so I was not expecting to like this as much as I did. But this is action-packed. I thought the adrenaline was here, and when I was reading it, it didn't feel like it was delayed. I felt like really into the story. I'm like, what's going to happen next? Oh my god. It felt really like a suspenseful story, and I think Scott Snyder and Jim Lee's art, just being the same creative team, was great. Even though not a lot's happening, it's an action-packed issue with great artwork, and again, it doesn't feel like it skipped a beat, even though it was delayed for such a long time. So I'm going to give this 4.5 stars. Really enjoyed this. If you want a great action-packed issue, it's Superman Unchained, and it's great. I think it's the second to last issue, so it's a great penultimate issue to that last story, and even though it's delayed, it's probably a better series for a trade. I did enjoy this a lot, so I'm going to give this 4.5 stars, and that is number 2. Pick of the week. Third time in a row, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, issue 3. Another great addition. I say this 3 times in a row because issue 1, issue 2, and issue 3 were both my pick of the week. It just, the momentum for the series is great. I love David Marquez's artwork. The facial expressions are wonderful. And Brian Michael Bendis, he knows how to do character stories, and this is very much character story. If you love Death of Spider-Man, Miles Morales pretty much interacts with the Death of Spider-Man story because he goes to the place where Peter dies, and that's in front of his house, and Norman Osborn attacks him. So it's very interesting to see Norman back. I still don't know what to think about the whole Peter being back. We'll still have to see where that story goes. But he keeps mentioning, oh, it could be a clone, which I really hope it is. But it's cool to see Norman back because he's a character that I knew wasn't dead, and he's okay not to stay dead. Peter, the story wouldn't mean as much if he doesn't stay dead. But we'll see where that goes. But Norman Osborn being back, great vengefulness here. This is very Norman Osborn. So if you love him as a villain, especially Ultimate Villain, you're going to love this issue. And also Kate Bishop's reaction to finding out that Miles Morales is Spider-Man in this issue was great. But why this issue didn't get 5 stars was because of her reaction. You wait a month to see her reaction and she just runs away. So it's that suspensefulness, I want more. But it's also, I kind of wish they gave us more. So that's why I didn't quite make 5 stars. But I love this issue. Again, great character interactions, great artwork. And I really hope I can see this as my pick of the week every week. Which it seems like it's going to be. At least for up to issue 3. It's been my pick of the week every week, or every month. So, hope you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. And guys, don't forget to follow me on Twitter for Comic Uno and the Rad Situations. Please tell me in comments below what you thought was the best pick of the week and worst pick of the week for this week. And all the comics I talked about, or whatever you read this week, in the comments below. So, hope you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno, Comic Frontline. And I will see you guys later. Bye.